Hey, y'all, welcome back. It's KJ.
Hey, and it's Alice. So we don't know where you're listening from. I listen when I'm getting ready in the mornings and in the car.
And I listen when I'm cooking. So whatever you're doing and wherever you are, tune in because we have a lot to say.
We sure do. Enjoy the next podcast. Thanks for listening. Hey, welcome back, listeners. I'm super duper excited to be with you today. We have a pretty heavy topic today. So I brought some friends along to have this discussion with people who maybe have, well, not maybe, I'm sure have not only a different viewpoint than I would, but more context for this topic. So today we're going to be talking about the school shootings and gun violence, etc. And I'm going to introduce to you my friends, Robin and Terrance Howell, and we're going to talk about why this matters and what their backgrounds are for this podcast. So disclaimer, two of them actually. One, I am recording outside today from vacation. So I am in Burlington, Wisconsin. We are here for my husband's birthday and to celebrate with family that we rarely see. So if you hear cars passing, after a few minutes, you'll be able to just, block it out. Disclaimer number two is we are not here to solve the problem of gun violence. We are only here to discuss from the viewpoint that we see it and what we think could help and certainly what we think would not help, I think. So that being said, welcome, Terrance and Robin.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys. So you're actually the perfect couple for this. So I asked you to be a part of this conversation, one, because I know this matters to you greatly, but also your backgrounds are relevant. So Robin, you're a school teacher. You've been a school teacher for...
I just finished my 16th year.
Okay, I was thinking 15. I was close. And Terrance is a former police officer, and so he definitely has a background in this, plus your parents
Right.
of children everywhere from elementary through high school. So Robin, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm Robin, and like Alice said, I've been a teacher I just finished my 16th year in education, and I teach primary school. I've taught kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And I also have, Terrance and I have 4 kids ranging from 7. Our youngest will be going into second grade. And our oldest is 17, and he will be a senior in high school next year. So we have quite the spread.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Okay. Terrance, tell me about you.
My name is Terrance Howell. I am a former police officer, but now the president of Revival Music Company, which we service music across the music industry in faith-based formats worldwide. So excited to be here and joining you, my dear friend Alice and Tim, for many, many years. So happy to be here with you.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. I just want to ask, why does this matter to you? Why does the topic of school violence and gun violence matter to you? So who wants to take that one first?
Well,
First.
okay.
So, well, it matters to me for several reasons. From a teacher standpoint, when I was going to college 20 years ago for education, if you had told me that part of my job description would be finding the best place to shield children from an active shooter, I would have looked at you and said, you're crazy. And I know that gun violence has been an issue for a while in this country, but it really wasn't. I mean, we weren't doing active shooter drills then when I first started. It's just, so that's the one aspect. And I guess as we go on, I have lots of examples and things I can talk about as an educator, but also from a parent's perspective, being afraid to, knowing that school is not a safe place.
Right.
And people will say things like, oh, we'll just homeschool your kids. Well, everyone doesn't have that luxury. We both have to work. Like, we're a 2-income family. And I don't think that the answer is homeschooling. I feel like our kids should be able to go to school, and we shouldn't have to worry about their safety. We shouldn't have to worry that someone's going to come into the school building and and kill our kids or blow up the school with a bomb.
Yeah.
So from both the parents' perspective and the educators' perspective, this topic actually is pretty close to my heart.
Yeah, mine too. Okay, Terrance, why does this matter to you?
Well, the reason why it matters to me is that I'm a father, 4 kids, and I'm married to a school teacher,
Mhm.
and I'm a former cop. So dealing with public safety is something that I did 5.5 years of my life, working 12-hour shifts um, and just seeing the progression in gun violence and attacks on schools, just really makes me concerned as a father, as a parent, as a husband. Um, so yeah, this is definitely a topic that hits home for me.
Yeah, me too. So some of the information that I'm going to share for our listeners, I will link these sites in the notes of the podcast. But there's 2 really good websites for school violence, gun shootings, mass shootings, gun violence, all of that. One is momsdemandaction.org. And the other one is called everytownresearch.org. They're both really good. So in doing some homework, prepping for this, I think the first school shooting that most of us would recognize would be Columbine. I
Yes.
think we're all of the age where we would have remembered Columbine. So since Columbine, some of the statistics that were given, which was in 1999, there have been over 311,000 children that have been victims of gun violence in schools, over 331 schools, 185 children, staff, etc., have died, and 369 injured. And then mass shootings, so not school shootings, but then mass shootings since 2009, there have been almost 300 mass shootings with 1,569 shot and killed and 1,000 shot and wounded. It's so unnecessary. It's so ridiculous and crazy.
Those numbers are so ridiculously insane. I mean, they really are. And that's 2009. And if you just go just 2 years before that, that was the Virginia Tech massacre, and it's just, wow,
Well,
wow.
The one that got me is the average age of the school shooters is 16 years old.
Wow.
The average age of the children committing the violence is 16 years old. At the time of their life when they should be preparing to drive and looking at their future and preparing for, college or tech school or, jobs or whatever is next in their life. And, for whatever reason, they're in these situations that are so incredibly sad. So, we could also talk about, mental health in our country. That certainly plays a role in this.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? I'll let you guys lead this conversation today.
But what comes to mind for me, what I think about is a lot of gun advocates, Second Amendment rights advocates are really up in arms about the slightest change and reform in legislation to do something to stop this massacre. And to be honest with you, I think if our founding fathers just had any inkling of what the type of weapons that were going to be made and the damage that they could do and how they were going to just be used to attack innocent children in school or, and just, I think that the Second Amendment will be a lot different, a whole lot different.
So one of the things that I was listening to was the discussion. Again, this is way above my pay grade of what I am actually educated in, but in doing some homework, is that our Supreme Court justices, there are some who interpret the law literally and some who interpret the law based on context.
Right.
Which makes sense to me coming from an evangelical background of how people interpret scriptures, right? Some are literal interpreters and some are contextual interpreters. So, yeah, so in looking that up too, so our Second Amendment was actually added in 1791. Like there was no context in writing. And this was before we had like organized police or organized like any type of governing, policing, whatever. So yeah, the right to bear arms, to come together as a militia to protect your whatever, was very different than what we have today. Yeah. Now,
absolutely.
Let me also in context say I'm a Southern girl. I grew up in a home where my father definitely had guns. We were taught to shoot very young. I've been around guns my entire life. I'm married to a retired United States Marine. Definitely have been around guns my entire life. My daughter shoots. In fact, all of my children are pretty proficient at shooting. So I'm not anti-gun on any level. So let me make that disclaimer. I am pro-reform to make some better decisions about who has access and how we grant access, I think would be my personal viewpoint.
Right. Absolutely. You know, when you get in the car and you drive, you have to have a license.
Right.
All right. And not only do you have to have a license to drive, but your vehicle must also be insured. You know, there are many, many measures that we take in our society for just everyday regulation of the most mundane things.
Right.
But yet and still, when it comes to guns, is like a free for all. You know, is the Wild Wild West, and is definitely more structure is needed, legislation, common sense legislation.
Right.
You know, we have great kids, but I don't think that they should be able to go out and purchase a gun when they turn 18. They're not even allowed to consume alcohol at that point, you know.
Right.
So yeah, what do you got, Robin?
I've had a lot of things go through my head. So I was at the grocery store the other day getting some medicine for Terrance. I got him, what's the MD you wanted? You was very specific what you wanted. Do you remember, babe, the name of it?
Oh, it's an allergy medicine, right?
Oh, Mucinex DM.
Mucinex DM. So I go through and I scan it. I was on the self-checkout. And then this thing pops up and someone comes and says, I have to see your ID. And I was like, you do? And they said, yeah, you have to have an ID for that. And I thought, I got to show my ID to buy Mucinex.
Right.
Mucinex. I 100% do. So the big argument that people are saying who don't want to touch any of the gun laws is they revolve around the mental health, mental illness. One, I will say that mental illness is definitely a real thing. Mm-hmm. I will say as an educator, and I work in a higher income area.
Right. Suburban America.
We probably see less of it in a building that I work in than in a building where kids are exposed to more trauma. But this past school year, I had about a quarter of my class were kids that we would call trauma kids. And I had a student who was suicidal in second grade, right? So mental illness is real. I think that we should actually have psychologists in the school. I do think we need to look at that. However, when you look at other countries that are like America, where they're, democratic and people, vote for their leaders and they vote for things like that. There are other countries where there's a vast difference in the gun violence. Right. You can't tell me that there's no mental health in those countries. I believe mental health is a global thing. I don't think it's just an American problem. So then we have to say, okay, why then? What's the difference? Why in this country where they also struggle with mental health, why are we the ones that are having the number? I mean, 12 kids die in this country. And was it every day or let me see, I was just looking up this statistic. It was really alarming. Each day, 12 children die from gun violence in America. Another 32 are shot and injured. That's every single day.
Yeah.
So what is different between us and them? It's the gun laws. It is the gun laws. I'm also not anti-gun. I grew up with uncles that went hunting. My mom owns several guns. My brothers hunt. I have no issue with guns when people go about it the right way and they're responsible gun owners. My issue is how easy it is for people to get their hands on guns. And then my other issue is there are guns that are sold that just should be illegal.
Yeah.
You don't need a machine type gun for what? There's no reason where that will, unless you're in the military and you're on a special assignment, there's no reason why a normal person like me can go into a store and buy a firearm like that.
Right. So and actually on the magazines that go in that type of weapon, it says for military and police use only. It's what the magazine says. Yeah.
But they sell it to normal.
Yeah. So I think, well, on that discussion, it's like when you give your kids a privilege and then you're like, dang, I probably shouldn't have done that. It's too much. Like they're really not ready for that, but I've already done it. So now I'm screwed. I think
the toothpaste is out the tube.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the same is true for that part of our gun reform is we allowed that type of weapon to become legal for just any Joe Blow to have access to. And that was not smart. And so now when you say that was not smart, we need to go backwards on that. Then the people are like, oh, excuse me, hell no, because that's my Second Amendment. Yeah. So we're screwed on that. But yeah, I totally agree. So I personally think that, so we go round and round about this. I have a community of people who we do have these heated conversations about how we feel about gun reform and weapons from every range of thought process. And there's no reason why people should not have automatic weapons. And I think that's the other viewpoint. I think that there's no reason for you to have an automatic weapon. Well, you can use it for hunting. Okay, but you went hunting and did other weapons before that was like you had access to that. So you don't have to have it to go hunting. It doesn't make you like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, you never seen Rambo in the woods using a AK-47 or M16 to kill a deer,
Yeah, so I think that if you are part of a competition and you do it for sport and it's a competition thing that you do, okay, then they can keep them there on site and you can check them out when you go and do your competition thing and you can become proficient at it. If you served in the military or you're a police officer, whatever, and you're used to shooting that type of thing and that's fun, and okay, I'm not going to discriminate against that. I think that's a different thing. To have them in your home for your personal protection, what? I don't understand. Like, I personally think that that's not necessary. And for common sense gun reform, I think if you are going to have any type of assault rifle or semi-automatic rifle or automatic weapon of any kind, you have to have a special permit that your background check and the checks that go into you are way deeper than a regular firearm. That's my thoughts. And if you really want a gun and you really want one, then go through the process. No one's saying you can't. Just make the process harder. Yeah, that's my thought on that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the other thing that people are saying when it comes to, well, first let me back up. I personally think it's a very selfish argument when people use the Second Amendment gun rights. I feel like
my rights over your life.
Yeah, I feel like it's not. We just have to think about others. I feel like in general, that's an issue that just keeps coming up in this country. Yeah. When in COVID, it's my right to not wear a mask. And it's kind of like, what about just thinking about your fellow human beings and just caring about others over yourself? Gosh, it's been several months now, but I'm at school on a Wednesday planning with my fellow teachers, and I get a call from Deep Creek High School that there was like a gun threat, right? And so the police were escorting the kids out to the buses. It was a very scary situation, right? And I'm texting my kid, I'm trying to get a hold of him. And he's like, Mom, we're okay. We're being escorted out. And I will say that high school did a fantastic job in the way that they handled it.
Except that they shouldn't have never had to.
Except that they should have never had to. I started, I'm teaching summer school this year. Yesterday, the school that I'm working at is like the newest primary school in Chesapeake. And I'd never been inside of it. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Right.
Beautiful. And so was going into my little pod that I'm teaching in. So the school is divided into pods, and the whole wall is glass. It's like they're glass doors. So you can see like right into the classrooms. The glass doors are on the inside, not on the outside. The outside is just your regular, windows or whatever. My first thought was, what if an active shooter got in the building? That was my first thought, not, this is set up. So, later my thoughts were, this is a really good setup for learning and engaging, and have like these open spaces where classes could like participate together, where they could pull like kids out to do special groups. And it's so conducive for learning. But my first thought was, how do you protect kids from an active shooter? Yeah, because it's so open. It turns out that everything in that particular building is run by a key. You can't even go to the bathroom without a key fob. So if you don't have a key fob, you're not getting in. Not to say someone can't, steal it off someone else. And right. But that was my first thing. When I set up my classroom, I set my classroom up in a way where I have a large enough dead space where I can shove all my kids into a corner, to where if the door is closed or if they peek in the window, that there's no way they can see that there are students in there. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that you even have that's part of your thought process.
And then I just hear people say, oh, but it's my Second Amendment rights. I'm like, is your rights more important than 12 kids dying every day and 32 kids getting injured? And those are the same people too that are like, pro-life. Bullshit, you're not pro-life. You are not pro-life. You're pro-birth. Because if you were pro-life, you would do everything you could to protect all the kids. Yeah. Not just the ones that need to be born. Right. And it's just very frustrating to me as an educator, as a parent. Yeah. To hear those crazy. And then the newest one is, well, let's arm teachers.
Oh, that's on my list. Let's talk about that.
So the first thing was, they were like talking about having parents. Like, there've been some schools where parents will come up. Well, first of all, we do live in a country that has issues with racism. Let's start there.
Yep.
I'm not sure that I want my Black children that go to predominantly white schools. Mm-hmm. I don't know that the person arming the schools don't have, even if they're not like racist, there are biases. People act on biases that they don't even know that they have. And so my kid walks in with a hoodie on and there's an active shooter in the area. I mean, Black kids have been killed for carrying a bag of Skittles. Let's be honest here.
Right.
So no, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with just some random mojo, just because they had military training or whatever, or former police officers. There's racism in the police force too. I'm not okay with that person just arming the schools. No. And then number two, I work with kids. A lot of my kids are on the spectrum or autistic. There's, I can't tell you how many times I have to help carry a child down the hallway because they're just gotta just sit in one spot because they're having an episode or whatever, or I'm running after a child who's running towards the street because they're a runner. And what if they grab the gun that's on me? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel like that's a safe. And I'm like, wait a minute, the same people that are saying armed teachers, aren't you the same ones that don't trust me to pick out the books to read to your kids? I mean, so I can't pick out the books to read to your children.
I'm educated to do. Right. That is my actual job. Right. Yeah.
Blows my mind. I'm just like, what?
Well, and then let's take into perspective. So two other facets of that, of why that is not the solution or even a remotely good idea, is one, let's go back to the average age is 16 years old. So most of the time it is a high school that is being shot up, not an elementary school, although, we know that happens, right? Look at Sandy Hook and Uvalde and others. So, but what teacher is prepared to shoot one of their own students? That's not the teacher I want teaching my kids. I just don't want that. And I don't want to put that teacher in that type of position to have to make that decision. I don't want that. I think that's asking too much, yet again, of our educators. And two, okay, so it's already been proven that resource officers do not cut down on school shootings. Having a resource officer there does not make the number go down. That's scientific, that there's data to prove that. Having more guns in a situation only makes the job for the police harder. So now you have, 10 teachers on a campus carrying a weapon. Who knows who fired what at who? We don't exactly know who the active shooter is, because it could be a teacher. We live in a world where no one would think that was odd or be shocked by that.
Right.
It just makes it way more complicated than what it has to be.
Yeah, so I'm pulling my gun to protect my class, and the resource officer just sees me point the gun thinking I'm the active shooter. Now I'm dead. I just don't think that.
Yeah.
And then again, I just go back to, what is the difference between America and other countries that have other democratic countries that have less gun violence? Yeah. What is the difference? It's not that no one in that country is mentally ill. That is not the difference. The difference is our gun laws are way too relaxed. And I think people need to stop being selfish. No one's trying to take people's guns away. We're just saying, let's have common sense gun reform.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So if you go to the everytownresearch.org, and again, for our listeners, I know most of you are probably driving or doing something else. That's what I do when I'm listening. I will have it in the show notes and you can link it later. But one of the topics in there, among many really good resources, is the difference of how states rank with their gun laws versus gun violence. And states with the strongest gun laws do have less gun violence, with the exception of states that, okay, let's say this state has strong gun laws, but the states that border them do not have strong gun laws. Then that's where the problem happens, is the people in the safe state travel across the border. They said this when we were watching footage about the Uvalde shooting, how actually people from Mexico go into Texas, buy their weapons because it's so easy to buy weapons in Texas and take them back across the border into Mexico. So that happens within our country too, because there's no standard of gun laws. And so when we're talking about common sense gun laws, the Supreme Court just ruled that this week that the state of New York was trying to make it harder for people to get concealed carry permits. And so they said that was against the Second Amendment right, if you had to give a reason other than for personal protection. I think that pretty much sums up the gist of what they said. And so I know a person who went online, got their concealed carry. They are in their 20s. They did buy a weapon. They never shot the weapon. They have a license to conceal carry a weapon that they've never shot. That should not be. Wow. You should have to prove that you are proficient at that weapon on a range, that you can take it apart, put it back together, that you know how to shoot it, that you know what all the safety features are before you are ever allowed to own or carry a weapon.
I agree.
As a police officer, we were trained.
Yeah.
Trained. I can't tell you how many times we spent disassembling our gun.
Yeah.
putting the gun back together, cleaning your weapon.
Look, I'm married to a Marine. This is my
right,
rifle. There are
exactly.
many
How
like
to
it, but this
fire,
one
how
is
to
mine,
hold.
right?
Right. Just what not to do, gun safety, all of these things. And we had to be certified to be able to carry. You have to have a certain score that you had to shoot over for you to even be qualified
Yeah.
to be able to carry a
Same is
weapon.
true in the military. They go every year
Yes.
to qualify on the range.
And you have to be qualified.
But people who have weapons and own weapons and can still carry, once you get it, you don't have to ever qualify. You don't ever have to show you're proficient. There's no continuing education. Nothing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why that's not important. You know, like you were saying earlier, Terrance, in order to drive a vehicle, which is a privilege that we have to drive vehicles, right? You have to have a license and insurance, and then we have to go get our license renewed, which means when you get it renewed, they're looking at your background history, they're looking at your medical history. Sometimes you have to test again, whether it's just the eye test, the sign test, or actually driving. Right. And that's every 4 years. But we're going to let people like have all these weapons when we know that we have a problem with that in our country. And that's it. You got it. Now it's yours for life. Good luck. Have at it. It doesn't make any sense.
I know it doesn't. Not at all. Not at all. So we as a society, we really need to take a look in the mirror. You know, unfortunately, we are living in a very narcissistic society. We as a society as whole is all about me and what I want, and and not giving a care about my neighbor over here and what is in their best interest. Is all about me, what I want. Let me get mine. No one can stop me and tell me what to do. And just that selfishness that we have as a society, looking inwardly, is really what is blocking a lot of progress on things that are common sense. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's just common sense.
Yeah. So Robin, you said something earlier, and I want to touch on it when you were talking about the people who were making a big deal about wearing masks during COVID. When COVID first started, I was one of them that I was like, I'm not wearing a mask. That's stupid. I don't like it. My son, my oldest, said to me, he said, we were having the discussion about masks. And he said, there are times that you make decisions based on you as an individual. And there are times that we make decisions based on who we are as a community. And I was like, wow, that definitely caused me to rethink, because I too was acting from my own viewpoint and my own rebellious thing of screw you, I'm not doing what you told me to do mentality, right? But when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And that has not been an issue since. And it really helped me to reframe not just COVID and wearing a mask, but lots of other things when it came to, am I making this decision based on just what I think and I need, or am I basing this decision based on who we are as a community?
Right. Could you imagine what the world would be like if we just kind of all, I think all of us have struggled with a selfish moment or whatever. I think though that when you know better, you do better. Yeah. When your understanding is opened or broadened. I certainly see things very different today than I did 5 years ago. Yeah, definitely 10 years ago. And I don't think I was a bad person 5 years ago.
Right.
I think my understanding and my knowledge were very limited.
Yeah.
And I do feel that there's just a lot of people that would rather just plant their feet and say, this is just the way it's going to be. And it's my second amendment. Right. And it's like me. And I'm like, when did you stop and just think about others? Like, it's not, what if we did? What if we lived our lives thinking just about others? Like, if I do this, how is it going to make that person, feel, or am I going to put this person in danger, and just kind of stepped outside of ourselves just a little bit. I just feel like we would be in such a better place.
Because everything that we do has a ripple effect. We're just not always aware of what that ripple effect is and how it affects other people and ultimately us further down the road. Oh, I want to talk about this. Active shooter drills. So I was listening to a woman who actually, I think she was the one who started the momsdemandaction.org website. And she was talking about how, well, first of all, I think active shooter drills within our school system vary greatly from place to place, and how they're not always age appropriate for the children that are being, that the way they're being led, and that it's extremely traumatizing for the children to do the active shooter drills. And it makes them more focused on death, more fearful, which we all know inhibits learning, which is what we send them to school to do. I hope to learn. You have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that that's true. But I think as long as we live in a country where they're not going to do anything about the gun laws, I think that we have to have those drills. I mean, I don't know what they do. Like, I don't know what they do at other schools or in every school, but
Right.
I mean, you know, it depends whether it's a 1, 2, or 3 lockdown. I mean, if it's a level 1, that just means there might be danger, you know, in the area, not necessarily at your school.
Right.
So they just, you know, all the doors, well, the doors are always locked anyways on the outside. And they just let us know. That way we know, hey, don't take your kids out to recess. Just stay inside. You keep working. And then level 2 is you can keep working, but you're going to close your blinds. You're going to make sure that, you know, you can't see through the glass or whatever. There's a thing that we pull down to cover that up. Again, we can keep working. And then level 3 is when you're in, you know, you're in danger. And that's when you go to that space. You get all the kids to that dead space. You turn all the lights off. And there are some times when those drills do take a while, where you have to sit in the darkness for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And the kids cannot talk. They cannot make a noise. And you'll have adults that will come through and shake the doors, you know, and we tell them, I mean, we do tell them this is a drill. It's not real, but we do have to practice so that we know what to do if we did ever have someone that, you know, wanted to hurt us. And it does suck. I've had to do those drills with kindergartners that are 5 years old and first graders and second graders. And I think that they're young, and I don't think it's something that they should even have to deal with. But the very last shooting we had was at an elementary school.
Yeah. Some of the science behind her talking about that is that they've not proven to be effective in the sense that running the kids through the drills doesn't make a difference when there is an active shooter. And so we are traumatizing our children for no benefit.
Right.
Gist of it. And again, for our listeners, I won't dig deep into that, but you are welcome to check out momsdemandaction.org.
Hey, Alice, I
Yes.
just want to add this in there as well, is that our legislators are totally fine and okay with making our schools become prison systems
Yes.
than they are versus reforming.
Well, because
gun
there's a
laws.
lot of money from those gun lobbyists.
Yes, and they are totally okay with going to school, and literally, you know, my wife, she works in school and she's been teaching, you know, in this era. But I remember going to school as a kid. You know, school, you didn't want to go to school, but
Right.
when you got to school, it was just a freedom that you had. You can go outside and play. Visitors, parents can come. I mean, all of those things, and like my kids don't know that. You know, it's completely different in this day of age. You know, kids go to school, you're locked in there, and it's just all that because we just won't come together to the table and do what is best for our kids. So
You're
we'd
not just
rather
locked into the school. We are locked. We have to lock ourselves into the classroom as well.
right.
So it's not just the outside doors that are locked. It used to be, I mean, the doors have always been locked. Well, at least as long as I've worked there, you have to have a code to come in. We used to, years and years ago, you could come in through the front door, but you'd have to check in at the security desk.
Right.
Now, of course, that's locked. And what they do now is they ring the bell and they have to show their ID to the camera before you're buzzed in. So it's obviously more secure. We changed our passcode because there were some subs that knew the password to get into the building. So now only teachers have it. No parents, no subs, things like that. But then even in our classrooms, the doors remain locked. So it does, in a way, kind of feel like Terrance was saying, like a prison system. And these kids are just growing up. I don't think I ever worried about in school. I just never.
Yeah.
I mean, kids would get in fights. I went to Indian River High School, fights would break out and they'd have to break it up. But I never worried about like someone coming in and like shooting up the school. We took our kids on a field trip to Jamestown at the end of the school year. And it was after the elementary shooting in Texas. And of course, we don't talk about those things in the classroom, but the kids hear things, right? They're, their parents talk to them. Yeah. I mean, I talk to my own kids about it. Hey, if this happens, this is what you need to do. And so even though we didn't necessarily talk about it in class,
right.
They knew what was going on. So we went on this field trip, and I've been going on this field trip now for, other than COVID, we had 2 or 3 years we couldn't do it because of COVID, but for a long time, many, many years. So we learn about the Powhatan Indians, and then we go to Jamestown, and we can visit the colony, Jamestown colony, and the Powhatan village. But anyways, so when we're in the Jamestown colony, there is a gun demonstration where they show them how they used to load the guns, the gunpowder and things like that. And they put paper inside of it. Obviously they don't put like, a real musket or bullet or whatever, but it's just as loud. I mean, it has the same sound effects. And we hadn't even gotten to the demonstration, but it doesn't matter where you are in the Jamestown colony, you can hear it when they're doing it. And we were about halfway through our Jamestown, the colony part tour, when the gun went off. And when I tell you that my kids panicked.
Yeah.
And it was immediately like their face. And I said, "You're okay?" And I said, "You know what? Listen." And we stopped everything. I sat the kids down and I said, "It's part of the demonstration and you're okay." And when they actually use paper, the only thing coming out of that is paper. And I had even mentioned to my colleagues, because we were in a group text, all the different buses on the way to Jamestown. I said, "Are they still doing the gun demonstration?" I don't know, because this was literally just like a week or two after. So I just don't know that that's such a great idea, And so they were still doing it. And yeah, my kids were panicked. And then I had to talk to them again before we went into that demonstration part, because there was like real fear there. And I'm like, I've been on this field trip. I've taken second graders on this field trip 10 times. I've never had to have that conversation with the kids.
Yeah.
And it made me sad. It's like, this is not okay. Yeah. This is not okay.
Yeah. So when we were talking about our legislatures, so it's important for us to be involved in the process. And I realize that in this stage of life more than ever, probably, but I learned a lot about the NRA. So for our listeners, National Rifle Association, I'll just put it out there. I am not a fan. And if you really want to know about the NRA and what they do, there is a great podcast. It's called Gangster, Capitalism. I will link it in our show notes. And they did a whole season on the NRA to understand what they're doing, where their money comes from, what they're like, all of their criminal behaviors and like agendas. And so I think maybe once upon a time they really existed to promote gun safety. And I don't know that that's their agenda anymore, or what their vision or mission statement would be today, but you can listen and make your own decisions. And again, I'll link that in our show notes as well.
It's a money-making business.
It is.
That's what it was to, money and power.
Hey, Alice,
yes.
I interrupt, but I can't stay up here too much longer. my phone is like going crazy with our program director who are trying to reach me and contact me, and I gotta.
Before we close out, Terrance, is there anything you want to add?
No, I really love what you're doing, Alice. I think you are this platform that God has given you. You are the voice of reason. You are someone who is looking out for the best interests of their neighbor, love their neighbor, and you're literally a living witness, a testimony of that scripture, and you seek to understand, you seek to learn, and you seek to love, and you in your work and in your endeavors is bringing people to the table of love, and love can cover a multitude of things that we do. So I really appreciate you, and you're just awesome. Keep being the rock star that you are, because people like you are the ones who help make a difference in this world. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here and taking time to spend with us. So best wishes that you get well quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. All right. Take care.
Thanks. Okay, Robin, how about you? Anything in closing that you want to share that we didn't talk about?
I think that we covered everything. I would just say that my hope and my prayer for this country, because I do feel like we're actually moving backwards in a lot of ways, which is scary. But my hope and prayer is that there is a generation of not just young people, but even older people, people in their 40s and 50s that are we're just kind of looking back at things and reassessing and reevaluating. And I really pray that we get to a place where there's more people looking out for the good of others than there aren't looking out. And just on the issue of gun violence, as an educator, the day that we live in a very red conservative state. Right now we do anyways with our current governor. The day that I have to carry a gun is the day that I quit teaching. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So I hope that mental health is important, but the laws need to be reformed. And we need to focus on mental health too. I think it's two separate issues, though. I don't think that people are dying because of mental health. I feel like it's two separate issues. You have very loose gun laws that's providing easy access for guns. And then you also have mental health as a whole separate issue. And we can't lump them together.
And lack of access, right. Yeah, a lack of access to good health care, for sure. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay, listeners, that's going to wrap up another podcast. We have Miss KJ on this conversation. We hope to have her back with us in the future. She is on sabbatical, enjoying her summer and living her best life. So again, I will include all of these links in our show notes. We welcome your comments and questions. Please feel free to like, share, and follow and rate this podcast where you listen. So on Spotify, iTunes, or on our platform, Podbean, because that helps other people find us. So as always, thanks for listening and have the best day available to you. Hey, you guys, we just want to say thank you today. We want to thank our listeners and those of you that have subscribed to the Simple Conversations podcast. Friends, thanks.